If you feel like fat loss has become harder than it used to be, even though you're eating better and staying active, this is for you. A lot of people assume weight gain is just about eating too much, moving too little. But many people I see are doing the right things and just not seeing the change. They clean up their diet, increase their protein, train consistently, and the scale barely moves. At that point, something deeper is driving the outcome. So what does that actually mean in real life? Your body regulates hunger, energy use, and fat storage through signals you don't consciously control. When your sleep is poor, your stress is high, or blood sugar unstable, those signals shift. The body starts prioritizing protection, hunger goes up, cravings go up, and fat loss gets harder even with effort. So the inputs look right, but the internal signals are not lined up. If pushing harder actually worked, you wouldn't still be stuck. Most people respond by eating less and training more. They increase cardio and cut more calories. But for many people, that creates more of a rebound effect. More cravings, more fatigue, and less consistency. Pressure does not always equal progress. Here's what that looks like in real life. Some people feel hungry an hour after a full meal. Others never feel satisfied, no matter how clean they eat. Energy crashes in the afternoon, late night cravings show up even when the day was on track. When those patterns show up consistently, it is not a character flaw, it's a signaling issue. So this is where peptides enter the conversation. There's a lot of talk about peptides. They're very exciting. We hear about it all the time, but there's not really an easy way to explain them. So that's what I'd like to do for you. So peptides are something that come from protein. When you eat it, body breaks it down eventually in the body to a peptide. And these are small little amino acid chains that there's about 7,000 that we know of in the body that each have their own purpose. If your body needs to do a specific process like healing inflammation in the body, or if it needs to help with sleep, anything like that, your body will utilize its own resources and send those peptides wherever it needs to go in the body. So look at peptides as a text message to your system. It's a little signal. When you put it into your body, the signal is telling your body to do something very specific, all the way down to a cellular level. And we've never been able to do that before and have this access to it like we do now. So think of it as a way to tell your body to do something for a symptom you have, for example. But then we get to the issue where there's weight loss peptides. And we don't know if that's really what you need to focus on is weight loss, or is it something else in the body that's not working right? And it's understanding the pathways in your body and which ones need help, because that's how you can stimulate which peptides you specifically need. That's how you can choose them to stimulate those pathways. Most people think fat loss is only about calories. I think we figured that that's no longer true. Burn more than you eat and problem solved. But if that were the story, disciplined high performers would not still struggle with stubborn fat loss. Fat loss is regulated by hormones, signaling pathways, and metabolic feedback loops. Insulin sensitivity, cortisol, sleep quality, and stress signals all change how the body stores and releases fat. This is why peptide research has become so relevant in the metabolic health. Why are so many people losing weight on GLP-1s, even when nothing else worked? It's because a GLP-1, one of the things that it does for your body is it's a hormone your gut releases after you eat. It signals insulin regulation, and it signals the brain that you are full. So one of the things it does is it slowly releases the food out of your stomach. So if the food stays in your stomach longer, you'll feel fuller. So then you don't want to eat as much. And that can help those of you that have cravings and constantly feel like you need to consume. Because as you consume less, your body will start to utilize fat storage in other parts of your body to release that energy that it needs. And that's where you're seeing the weight loss. What people are not talking about is the friction that can come with that same mechanism. Fullness can come with nausea for some people. Slower digestion can mean constipation or discomfort. Some people feel great, others feel restricted. And that impacts consistency. The tool can work and still create obstacles if the person is not supported correctly. The bigger issue is what comes as an expectation from using this kind of a peptide, is people aren't talking about those side effects. Because it's starting to release the food out slower from the stomach, if you have already an acid reflux issues, it can increase that. If you're not going to the bathroom on a regular basis for a long period of time, now you're noticing constipation. And that can create other issues, right? Or if you already have those, then you're just making it worse, potentially. So the weight loss part of it, you might see a dramatic weight loss, which is great. But then what you're noticing is you're also losing muscle mass. And it might not just be the pounds you see on the scale losing, but you're actually losing muscle. And what that does, it creates a weakness in the system. Like your workouts might not be as strong anymore. You might feel like you're getting more flabby in certain areas of the body because you're losing that muscle mass. And that's a big part that doesn't get discussed or rarely gets discussed with these GLP-1s. Here's what that looks like in practice. If someone is sleeping 5 hours a night, living in constant stress, barely strength training, and under eating protein, a peptide is not the first lever to pull. But if someone is training consistently, hitting the protein targets, managing the stress reasonably well, and still experiencing constant hunger and unstable appetite, then we look deeper at signaling. The decision is based on patterns, not hype. It's not about adding something new. It's about identifying what is actually blocking progress. If fat loss feels harder than it used to, even though you're doing the work, the answer is not to push the body harder or copy what is trending at the time. The answer is to understand what your body is going through and why it's not signaling properly. Hunger patterns, energy, stability, and recovery all tell a story long before a scale does. Peptides can influence specific pathways in the story, but they are not the hero of it. They are the tools that make sense only when a pattern calls for them. After years of working with metabolic health, one of the things becomes super obvious to me. People who make progress are not the ones chasing rapid results. They're the ones that look for the full picture. They ask why their hunger behaves the way it does. They look at the blood work, testing, and they evaluate things like stress, sleep, and muscle mass. Decisions are made from data patterns and not just emotions or marketing. So if you're stuck, move is not more restriction. It's more clarity. When you understand what is driving your biology, the strategy changes. And when the strategy matches the physiology, fat loss stops like a fight. That is how peptides should be approached, not as a shortcut, but as a precise option when the right signals are present. So I want to leave you with this. If you're considering peptides, understand that you are not changing your weight. You are changing a signal in the body. The signals have ripple effects and they influence how you eat, how you recover, how you train, and how you feel through the day. That decision deserves intention, not impulsiveness. The goal is not to be lighter for a season. The goal is to build a body that performs, thinks clearly, and sustains energy long term. Whatever you choose, make sure it supports the bigger outcome.